Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Mirth. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're doing an episode of What's New. It's Saturday night, and I have an interesting album, one that I like quite a bit, and I'm hoping to introduce you to it, and then you can like it quite a bit as well. So the album is from a band called Argos. It's called Halfway Between Heaven and Mirth. It's released July 5th, 2024. So just a few days ago. Actually, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. So not long ago at all. One day. Studio, it was mixed at B-Side Music Studios. It's about 46 and a half minutes or a little bit more than that in length. And it was produced by Thomas Klarman. Okay, so the people involved in this, the members of Argos, of course, Thomas Klarman, bass, flute, vocals, keyboards, and acoustic guitar. Robert Kuzan, vocals, keyboards, electric guitar. Bugatti, Bukar Akos, I think that's how you pronounce it, electric and acoustic guitars and backing vocals. And Ulif Jacobs, drums, percussion, vocals, and keyboards. There are a few guests on this. Andy Tillison is on here playing keyboards, Merrick Arnold on saxophones, and Alexei Tolpego on violins. So this album, like I said, it's only been out for about a day. Very progressive. Lots of elements here that are, to me, a little bit unusual, but there's also some familiarity as well. So I would say it's a quieter, mellower album. Lots of progressive elements, of course, but on the kind of pastoral side. I wouldn't say it's a pastoral album, but it definitely has that feel about it. Has a little bit of a poppy element to it too. I wouldn't say it's a heavy album, not at all. Very poppy. But lots of really interesting musicianship here. A lot of different sounds. You got some violin here, you got some saxophone here, some flute here, along with your normal keyboards, guitar, bass, and drums as well. A nice mixture of everything. The vocals are a little bit marshmallowy, poppy, maybe poppy might be another word you could use to describe them. Very medium range, not too high of a pitch, not too high of a tone. And there's a couple of guys singing here, and they're fairly distinctive from each other. You're not getting like, oh, who's singing now and who's not singing. You can tell the difference between the two vocalists quite readily, I think. I found the music very catchy, interesting, and reminded me of several bands. I would not go as far as to say they sound like any other band, but they do have elements of other bands that they place in their music. So this album had, I believe, I'm just going to check here. I made my notes. I think there was 8 songs on the album. All of them, I would say that all the songs on this album are pretty solid. Some of them a little better than others, but I gave everything at least a 6. Some of them as high as a 7.5. So they're all pretty much within the same range too. Most of the stuff is between 3 and 5 minutes in length, but there is one epic length track that's about 20 minutes long. So I'm going to give you a little breakdown of the songs as we go along here. So the first song is called The Marshmallow Moon, aptly named. The vocals were matched the track title absolutely, marshmallowy. I would say there's a bit of a 60s style to this song. Definitely well within that kind of 60s pop and psychedelic type sound to it. The production's clear on the album, so you're not getting any kind of scratchiness or any kind of muddledness or any kind of fuzziness on it. It's pretty clear sounding, even the vocals. Lots of catchy beats. The keyboards are mellow. at least in part, and the solo is, of course, very mellow as well. So they're not terribly forward, the vocal solo here, but definitely interesting, sounds really good. The track is kind of poppy overall, I think, but I did like it. I did give it a 6.5 to start the album. The next song is The Fires of Life. It starts with a kind of an acoustic guitar part with keyboard part to open. And then it goes to another kind of a mellow poppy-like feel to it. Vocals are mellow as well. The beat is very catchy though, and the guitar solo mild and toned down. So it's a good guitar solo, but it's kind of backgroundish a little bit. Some mild flute and sax on this track, giving it a almost jazzy feel. Yeah, definitely got some jazzy kind of elements going on, at least on this particular track. There's a couple of other tracks that are like that as well. The next song, which is called Fidgetity Philip, more mellow vocals going on here. The song again is mellow, but it's a much faster paced song than the previous two tracks. Going along at a fairly good clip here. Both the drums and the guitar adding this element to the song. I would say some of the guitar lead parts and keyboard lead parts are quite well done here on this particular track. Violin appears on this track as well. Some strong, fairly dominant, very jazzy feel on this violin part. I like this song quite a bit too. So the next song, Fontanelli's Dream, is probably one of the two songs that I like the best on the album. The keyboard openness is very similar in style and parts to what you might find on Wind and the Wuthering. Doesn't necessarily sound like a song from that album, but has some of the similar elements on it. No sharp sounds, no crisp sounds. Very mellow, very almost pastoral, but lots of complexity to it. So yeah, excellent tune that way. Very proggy, very symphonic, lots of vocal parts here, very mellow. And intricate instrumental weaving. So all the instruments that are being used on the song, drums, guitar, keyboards, and other things, are very well weaved together into a nice, simple but complex melody at the same time. I found this to be a catchy track. I did like it quite a bit. It was one of my favorite tracks on the album. Now we're going to do the back half of the album, which I had to write on a separate page because I didn't leave myself space, which is not abnormal for me. Make Me Smile. So there you go. That's the name of the track, and that's what I'm attempting to do. Another mellow vocal track. This track is kind of mellow, but it has a kind of a gentle giant feel to the track. It's got these little intricate weaves going on that are almost playing off of each other, giving it that kind of gentle giant feel. Very poppy track with some catchy parts to it. The guitar is very slow-handed, a guitar, but it has an interesting kind of context to it, which I liked. The next song, the shortest song on the album, The Other Life, has a piano opening, which is different. They don't have any piano openings on any of the other songs. In fact, the piano I don't think is used on any other songs. It's got a kind of an English-style vocals, reminding me almost of some of that older Beatles stuff that's kind of obscure that you might find on the White Album, perhaps. Piano and violin are the two dominant instruments on this particular track, and they weave together quite nicely. It's got a very English sound to it, and I liked it. It wasn't bad. The next song is the longest track on the album, very complex. Lots of different instrumentation here. It opens with a kind of an acoustic guitar and a subdued kind of English-sounding voice or vocal part. It builds up as if it's telling a story. I didn't read any of the lyrics. I didn't follow the lyrics at all, but you could tell that they were telling a story. The synthesizers and the keyboards begin a more dominant aspect of the song as it moves along. keyboard, drums, and guitar get a more melodic, very kind of Genesis sounding feel to this particular track, but not the entire track, and definitely not a dominant factor. Just certain aspects of the song and the track lend that feeling of an old style Genesis song. The vocals do get harder as a second vocalist comes in, and he's a little bit more dominant than the other vocalist as they're singing back and forth. This is a melodic, progressive, upbeat beat sound with sax, as well as a lot of intricate instrumentation throughout the entire track. Absolutely killer song. I think it was probably, arguably, maybe my second favorite, maybe my favorite, between that and the first song that I said, which I thought was really good. This song is called Daedalus Machines. Really interesting track. I think this is a song that it would be one of those perfect songs to be lying down on your bed, relaxing, lights out, and you play this song and have it on surround sound. Fantastic. And then the final track is an alternate version of Marshmallow Moon, which is the opening track on the album. Very much more upbeat, catchy, more poppy, more English vocal style, more dominant by keyboards. It almost has a little bit of a funky sound to parts of it as well. So an excellent album. I think that this is an album that I definitely would like to purchase. It's on my list, but of course, because it's find a little bit more of an obscure band, a band that you're not going to find I'm not going to find it in my Encore record store. I might find it at I can't even think of the name of the place. It's right there, but it's not coming out. But anyways, I might find it there. But I think this is like a lot of these more obscure bands. You have to kind of purchase directly from them on their site. So it is on my list, but of course, because it's European, it's going to be costing me a little bit of money for shipping and that. So the only way this will go in a list. I have a list of albums I wish to purchase, and the only way I'm going to get them is by paying through the teeth, so to speak. So it may take a while for this to come through, but an excellent, absolutely excellent album. I highly recommend it for people who like that more pastoral, quiet kind of progressive sound, where they don't like all the heaviness or guitar dominated or keyboard dominated albums. You will like this stuff. It's a little bit of a variety of everything, not too dominated by any one particular aspect, but also very mellow in its aspects. So there you have it. This is Argos is Halfway Between Heaven and Mirth. Excellent album. We'll start off the second half as we work towards my favorite albums for the year. I hope you will like this and subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the notification bell, and any comments about the album, if you've heard it, would be great. And we will be back next Saturday with another What's New album. I have another one that I think will go over very well. I'm still planning to get the other album I talked about last week, which I cannot remember the name of right now, but and that one I'm going to do as, once I get the CD, I'm going to do that as one of my What's New. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week on What's New. Take care and have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.